Straight Talk with your host, Reggie B. Come on, let's all join in. Free your voice, it's your choice, alright here. Oh, simply straight talk.
Yeah. Greetings and all that. I think I have a solution for our younger generation to get ahead in life.
Okay, Ms. Rude.
Anyway, we need to start directing our youth towards becoming entrepreneurs and having more control of their destiny. So what do you think?
That's a great idea. What made you think of that?
I'm just tired of seeing our people working for years and leaving nothing behind for the next generation to continue as a family legacy.
Now that's exactly what we need to help improve our communities and our youth chances for a better life.
Well, thank you. Now come pick me up and take me to dinner so we can discuss how to make it happen. Oh, and since this is a business dinner, you should take me to Bones or Marcel's because I deserve it.
Well, how about we go to Applebee's, or we can just grab something fast. You want to go to some place like Taco Bell?
How about I'm dressed and Bones and Marcel's has a table ready for me and your wallet. Come along now.
Ooh, she's so lucky I can't get mad at her.
Welcome to Simply Straight Talk with your host, Reggie Maddox. So don't get scared. You know we all about that real talk on the Simply Straight Talk show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Simply Straight Talk show. This is your host, Reggie Maddox. And today, I really want to talk to the parents, the guardians, everybody who is mentoring or parenting a child right now about taking the time to teach your child as they grow up about being an entrepreneur. Right now, every child seems to be more focused towards entertainment, music, singing, acting. But what about being their own boss? What about being their own leader? Why are we not instilling this in our children? Now, I know that there are some families that are taking this step. There are families that really are attempting to teach their child the business models of life. As fact, it's becoming their own entrepreneur. Some people own a business already. Some families already have a business and they want to pass it off to their kids. Now, some people do this in a way to where they're grooming their kids to take over. But are you grooming it too fast to where you're going to push your kid away from it? So that's what we want to talk about today. But more importantly, we really want to talk about the fact that we need to start grooming our kids to become entrepreneurs, especially in the African American community, because this is something that we really need to focus on. We really need to start building our younger generation to understand that, basketball is not the answer for everybody. It is not the answer, nor is acting, nor is singing. Entertainment in general may not be the direction that that person needs to go. So why are we not teaching our children about being an entrepreneur? Well, some people will say, well, entrepreneurs are just born that way. People were born with that instinct to be an entrepreneur. I don't agree with that. I really don't. I think it's absolutely wrong. Entrepreneurs are not born. Entrepreneurs are made. Businessmen, businesswomen, business leader, a business person is made because something in their life has given them the skills they need to navigate to that direction that they want to own their own business. And unfortunately, for many of us adults, we don't reach that point until we worked at a job so many years and to where we're tired of being undervalued and underappreciated that we decide to step out. Why can't we help our children with that process to where they are going to be doing something that's going to build them, give them their own legacy, that's going to give them their own business, where they are in control of their own destiny and somebody else is not in control of their life? So it comes back to the question, why are we not teaching our children entrepreneurship? As a parent, one of our duties is to give our child the best possible start they can have in this life. Because in order to survive in this world, children have to understand that this is an unforgiving world. And they're not going to understand that when they're young. It's not till they get older and they start going through things. And unfortunately, when it affects them and hits them personally, it's when they really come to realize that this is an unforgiving world. So think for a moment how much you would have benefited from being exposed to entrepreneurship at a young age. I think about my life and the way I was brought up. I was never exposed to being an entrepreneur. I was never exposed to businessship, leadership. None of that stuff coming up was in my household. So I was never taught any of that. I didn't see any of that till I got much older. And for me, at this point, I wish I would have been exposed to some of that stuff, especially when I was younger. And I think a lot of people can actually say, now some people can say, hey, I was exposed to it. I didn't take advantage of it. But there are many people like me who were brought up in households where they were not exposed to the different things in life that could have helped shape your life, such as the entrepreneurs, some of the resource programs and stuff like that. Some of the entrepreneurial activities that people or communities held. If you weren't exposed to that, then you're going to kind of be like lost to it. So what we want to do is kind of discuss like some of the potential benefits that your child can garner from this experience. See, when you're preparing your child for life challenges, you got to decide at an early age to put them in the educational system so that their skills can be built over time and their minds can be trained and prepared for the roles that they're going to take in the future. You just don't decide that when they are 21, they're going to decide to be a doctor. And then you're going to take them to a hospital and they're going to become a doctor. It doesn't work like that. Children learn from practicing, learning, and making mistakes. Okay. And teaching them about being an entrepreneur helps them to be flexible in life. And more importantly, it helps them to grow from the mistakes and failure and not give up. So that's why it's important to understand that we have to start teaching our kids about entrepreneurship, because we don't want them to be in the mentality of, I can only succeed in life if somebody else is dictating my life. When I take vacation, when I go to work, when I get off work. When you teach a child that the power and the responsibility that they can have over their own life by determining, this is what I'm going to do. If I have my own business, okay, they're going to start to understand things like responsibility, and it's going to start to grow within them. So when you're teaching them entrepreneurship, especially in today's world, well, today is a big world of startups. You got to understand something. In today's modern times, startup businesses are booming. And there is a high probability that you will be successful. Now, there's also the chance that your first business may not be successful. But you're not just going to wake up and be an entrepreneur. We get that. We understand that. You're going to fail. You may fail several times. But finding the right strategy comes from teaching your child how to be an entrepreneur. Teaching them that. The growing process with that. And the more you start when your child is younger, the more you're putting them ahead in life. The more you're helping them to grow. Because now they're learning to deal with things that probably the average person doesn't want to deal with, who hasn't tried. Have you ever noticed somebody who's tried to create a business and they're trying to get a business off the ground? And you keep saying, why do they keep doing the same thing? Why do they keep doing these different businesses? See, there's a difference between some person who feels like there's something inside them that can help them to be better. Okay? Versus somebody who just never tries and is always unhappy with their life because, they're waking up to the same job. They're not happy about what they're doing. They're not happy about what's going on with the job, how much they're getting paid. But somebody who's out there at least trying, they're getting satisfaction and they're getting closer to getting and opening the door to being their very own boss, being that entrepreneur, that business leader. And that's what you want for your child. You want your child to set your child up so they have the tools and resources so they can be financially sustainable on their own and not dependent upon a boss, a manager, a supervisor. Because we all know you've been in the jobs where that boss, manager, supervisor who just doesn't like you, or they want to get that position to a friend or somebody that they prefer. You deal with those different challenges. Teach a child to be their own boss. Teach them to be a leader and not a follower. Okay? Because we need to start instilling this, because this is what the world needs. We got plenty of followers in this world. We need more leaders. And not understanding the lessons that can be used in entrepreneurship can really kind of set your child up for failure. Now, we're going to get in some things that can really help your child grow as far as you teaching them to be an entrepreneur, a business person. But also, I want you to understand something. Many people think that in order to teach your child to be an entrepreneur, it means that you have to have money. You have to have a business already. That is so far from the truth. That is so far from the truth. When you expose your kids to the things that can help them, you're going to realize that it's not always about having $1 million in your bank account or $500,000. It's got to do with some of the toys you buy, some of the games you buy, the time you spend with them, the things you work with them to teach them. You can create games. There are kids right now at the age of 7 and 8 that are writing books. You got kids that are actually making little apps. You got kids that are doing so much. Why are your kids not in that same loop? And many people say, well, the child doesn't want to do anything. Have you exposed the child to anything outside of what you feel they need to do? You can't just tell them do this and don't say anything. You can't tell them, oh, you need to grow up. Tell them how, show them how, give them an understanding. Okay? Help them to understand the importance of what they're doing. And listen, you got to understand something. For a child, their attention span is going to be short. So when you give them something that's like a business plan or business game to learn, or you're playing with them in a way that is a business, it helps them to grow. And they won't get bored because it's something that's interactive. You keep it interactive. You can make it happen. And even for your teenagers, same thing. You can create a business model within the household to help them understand. You can work with them. Now, like I said, there's no guarantees, but the truth is we have to do something. Now, people are saying, well, maybe my child won't end up being an entrepreneur. I might do all of this and they don't end up being a business leader. Then it'll be kind of like a waste of time. No, because number one, you're spending time with your child. You're investing in your child. So even if they don't become an entrepreneur, one of the things you're going to instill in them is innovation and creativity. Because everybody needs to be creative and innovative in their minds. Because throughout life, they're going to have to be able to solve complex problems that they're going to face continuously. So creative thinking is such an important factor of building their own growth, their own, levels in life, or even if they're going to build their own business empire, they're going to need that creative thinking process to stay ahead of the competition. So they're going to need to do that if they're in athletics, if they're singing, if they're doing artwork, if they're doing music, lyrics, whatever they're doing, they're writing poetry, they need that creative thinking. Even on the job, that's what makes some people successful as CEOs, as vice presidents. It's that creative thinking. And when you build up that creative thinking, you're making sure that they never lose their ability to think outside of the box. It's going to help them to grow and be better. Resilience. When you start doing this and let's say you start playing games, you create an environment to where the child has to do something. And to do something is based on a business model. When you do this, if they fail, okay, one thing that's going to happen is they're going to start building up resilience. And you don't lecture them or punish them for failing. What you say is you sit down like, okay, Let's do it again, but this time, think of something else. Think of something that you would do differently if you did this again. You sort of challenge them, but in a positive way with positive feedback. Give them positive feedback. Challenge them to think of what they did and how they could have did it better and redo it. Remember, life is full of setbacks, and if you want to get through it, you have to develop a thick hide. And children especially need to learn this lesson. So you don't have to run for life problems, and you don't have, you can feel confident and stand firm in who you are. You have a positive attitude. Resilience will let them take that L and stand up and over again. So you got to teach your children to be able to take that L and be strong about it. You understand? This is what you're teaching your children. So even if they don't become an entrepreneur, they're learning this. Optimism. You can have a child with a negative attitude, helping them to do the entrepreneur stuff. Like I said, even if they don't do it, the fact that they're doing it and helping them kind of think outside the box and kind of, being optimistic about it, having a positive look, having to evaluate both sides of things, it's going to help, which leads to building their self-confidence. Children need to have self-confidence. That's why so many children get in school and they fall along the wayside. They fall out with everybody else. They don't have that confidence. Confidence don't have to be in the fact that, I'm a football player, I'm a baseball player. Confidence can be in the fact that I'm intelligent. I understand the economics of life. I understand the financial benefits of life. And with that, we'll let you know that we will be right back after this break, right here on the Simply Straight Talk Show. And today we're talking about entrepreneurship for kids, man. Our children, build them up. What are you doing about it? Are you ready? Can you handle this? Let's make this happen. When we come back, we're going to get some deep into this thing right here now.
We'll be back with your host, Reggie, on Simply Straight Talk.
There are so many talented young men and women attending our HBCUs. Don't you think it's time we show them our support? This year, Reggie will be highlighting HBCU bands, dance teams, and sports programs. And we are inviting you to show your love as well by attending games in your area. When you buy tickets to attend these events, you are helping to support not only the programs, but the great minds of our future generation as well. You're listening to the Simply Straight Talk Show, bringing you the best conversation on your morning, afternoon, and primetime drive.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Simply Straight Talk Show, the part 2. And today we're talking about raising your child to be a little entrepreneur to end up being that big, successful entrepreneur as an adult. Now, one thing I want to remind you about, if you say, well, you don't see many young children in the world of business, take a look at this show, Shark Tank. Take a look at The Profit. You're going to find that more and more of our younger generation is starting to get into the entrepreneur world because there are more opportunities for them than probably was for us when we was coming up. Because now with technology, with television, and you got more startup companies being accepted by some of these bigger corporations, whether either they're investing in them or buying them out, the opportunity is there. But you got to teach your child the benefit of it. And part of it is just kind of studying, what does your child like to do? Does your child like to draw? Does your child like to read? Does your child like to play with money? Find out what interests your child. Because your child does not have to spend their life working for somebody else. Teach them the skills. Give it to them. So that way, when they do get the age of 18 or 21, they start going off into college, at least they have an idea of what direction they want to go. When I was a campus safety director, I was surprised at how many kids came into college and was taking courses that had nothing to do with what they wanted to do. I knew kids who actually wanted to be sports medicine, but they was taking nothing related to sports medicine. Kids who wanted to be athletic coaches, kids who wanted to do things, but they were taking psychology courses. They were taking is one generic course that they was taking. For the life of me, I can't think about it. But many kids were taking, courses that had nothing to do with where their passion was. Now, I know I'm going to get some kickback from this, but I'm going to tell you right now, college is not for everybody. College would not make you a business person. It just says on paper, you attended a higher education facility where you actually learn some terminology and you actually learn some strategies and protocols. But many of these things you can teach your child as they're coming up. Even if you're starting your own business, allow your child to kind of see what's going on with you. Allow them to kind of follow. Talk to them about your day. Let them hear it. Ask them their opinions, their thoughts. Hey, I started this cleaning company. We've been doing this. I done hired 4 more people. The building is this big. This is a new project. What would you do? Let them feel like they're participating. Then you get their minds to thinking like, wow, if I own my own business, I would do this. You got to plant the seed. And I think that's the thing we're not doing as adults. We're not planting the right seeds in our kids to understand that they can become entrepreneurs. Now, when you're raising that little entrepreneur, you're teaching them about having better work ethics. And that is so crucial because it should come as no surprise that the younger generation needs to develop a better work ethic, especially when they're surrounded by entrepreneurs. And this happens in a couple of ways. When they experience business operations firsthand, when they're filing papers or stuffing envelopes or cutting grass or pressure washing driveways, you're quickly learning the value of hard work. And when they get rewarded for it, then they understand the benefits of it. They want to be better. They understand the importance of friendly competition because they know that if the person there, somebody else is cutting grass, if they're just cutting grass, I may have to start edging grass. If they're pressure washing driveways, I might want to learn how to pressure wash house. I might want to learn about having better equipment. And most importantly, they develop a positive work ethic when they're exposed to your positive work ethic, when they're exposed to something that they're doing and being rewarded for, when they feel like this is something that I'm doing. And they're going to start treating hard work as a normal state of life. And that's something that's seriously lacking in our culture today. The other thing is they start to understand an appreciation for money. So let's say you do have a child that has a pressure washing or cutting grass, or maybe they're doing some intermediate duties like stuffing envelopes for people or something like that. They begin to have an appreciation for money because treat it like a business with them. When they get a check, teach them, okay, you got this money. What are you going to do with it? Do you want to make more money by working with more people, having you to cut their grass? You might want to buy a better lawnmower. You might want to buy a better weed eater. Yeah, I can't talk. You want to buy some equipment that's going to make you stand out. Teach them this, that the more they invest in themselves, how to save their money, manage their money, teach them these things. And these are things that we're not teaching kids. Because when we do have a kid that, let's say, go and start cutting grass or something like that, the thing about it is we're not teaching them what to do with that once they get it. We just sort of kind of lead them to the wind, like, oh, okay, you made some money. So either the parent will take the money or they'll just let the kid do whatever they want to do with the money. Teach the kid about the responsibilities of it. Help them to understand. Also, it helps them to improve their people skills. Because when you're doing a business and they're learning that for me to make money at cutting grass, for me to make money at selling lemonade, for me to make money, I got to be able to get along with people. So that's where that thick skin comes in, what we talked about earlier before, because they're going to have to be able to accept critique as well. But you're teaching this and you building this into them at an early age. So when kids finally get to understand that the beauty of working in a small business is that you're forced to interact with unfamiliar people. You're forced to understand a business model of providing service. So these are key factors that we need to understand when we're teaching our children about business and being an entrepreneur. It also helps them with goal setting because oftentimes, we don't really set goals for our kids, especially when they're young. We don't discuss it with them. We wait till they maybe get in high school and start talking about some things. And in some cases, it doesn't even come up until the child has graduated high school and they're in the real world. And it's like, what do I do now? And that's the same thing. And I'm not trying to be harsh, but there are some people like me. I understand I was raised in a single parent home. When you're raised in a single parent home, that single father or that single mother may be spending more time on the job trying to bring money in to keep a house over, keep a roof over your head, keep food on the table. So for them, it may be difficult. They may see it as difficult to have this time to where they really want to make sure that you have these skills. So I totally get the whole single parent thing, so for me, it's like being a single parent. Yes, you are going to probably have to work harder at this than a household that has that has a husband and a wife. Because when you got both parents, you can sort of tag team these things and you can get different points of views and you can discuss it. But when you're a single parent, you're having to do it in between everything else you got to do. But let me tell you something. It has to be done. You got to find time to do it. You don't want to leave your child's mind, beliefs, and goals in life in the hands of somebody else, because they may stir them in a way that could be detrimental to their life. So you want to make sure that you are that influence in their life. And when you lead them toward goals, they can start to focus. Because the more goals you get them to start to realize that they want to pursue, then they're going to start focusing in on these things. They're going to understand the importance of focusing in on their goals and the accomplishments that can occur from them focusing on their goals. And that's the biggest problem we have today. A lot of kids are not focused, and they don't focus because, truthfully, they're not given a reason to focus. As a child, I remember I was always told, tuck your shirt in, sit up. And as a child, it's like, okay, well, I'm just being told this because that's what your parents want. That's what my grandma wanted. That's what my mother wanted. Tuck your shirt in, sit up straight. Pay attention when grown-ups are talking. But given that information and being told to do those things without instruction as to say, listen, I need you to sit up straight, because a good posture speaks a lot about you. It's how a person will perceive you. Listen, I need you to pay attention, because when you listen, you're going to get more out of what's going on. I need you to hear what's going on. I need you to learn from this. Tuck your shirt in. Neatness makes a big difference in how people will receive you when you walk up to them, when you approach them. See, things like this is things that we weren't taught as children coming up, but it's things that we need to be taught, and we should have been taught. So let's start teaching our youth today. All right? Now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the Simply Straight Talk Show.
Hey, Simply Straight Talk family. Your host, Reggie, will be right back, so don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, Simply Straight Talk family. If you are enjoying this episode, at the end of the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And why not share this with a friend? Also, visit our blog at newlifenewmind.com, where you can find additional articles on more great topics. Stay tuned. The show will continue right after this message.
Are you ready for the straight truth? Reggie, what's the final word for today?
Hey everybody, welcome to the final thoughts of today's show. And today we were talking about teaching your children entrepreneurship, giving them a different direction in life, helping them to understand that football, basketball, baseball, sports, entertainment, all that stuff, which is all fine and good, but it's not the only way to be successful in life. And you need to help them to understand that many of our athletes, our entertainers, our singers, once they do become, athletics or entertainers, 90% of them have some other business that they're operating in, which is nothing to do with sports as far as them playing. So our children need to understand the importance of being an entrepreneur. Even if your child does go into the world of entertainment, regardless of what aspect it is, hopefully good entertainment, But, when they go into that world, they're going to need entrepreneur skills. So don't just think by making your son practice football or your daughter practice tennis or softball or dancing or acting or whatever it is, singing, that child is going to be successful based on their talent alone. They need entrepreneur skills. They need them. And as a parent, it's your job to give them the best tools, the best resources to help them accomplish this. And as I said earlier in the show, I think the biggest mistake many of us make is the fact that we think that it takes money to do this. It doesn't take money to educate your child on being an entrepreneur. Even if you have not had your own business, you can pick up a magazine and discuss a business article with your child. You can have conversations. You can learn and do this together. You can just read and just ask their opinion about it. Get them thinking. Like I said, you got to plant the seed. I think that one of the coolest things I saw was a father whose son wanted to do a yard cleaning service. Now, granted, it's a young child, but he got the child a shirt with his son's name and his little business thing on there. Gave him some little business cards. Do you know what that has done for that child? Do you know what he's setting that child up for in the future? This child has business cards. This child has his own shirt, his little uniform that he wears. He is setting his child up for success because he's learning at a young age. This is what it takes. Just imagine if your child wanted to do something and you spent $20 on a little shirt. You go to Vistaprint and you buy them 10 or 20 business cards. For what, $20 you get 100 business cards or something? If you give them these tools and help them to understand the purpose of them and allow them to use them, you will be surprised what your child might grow, the seeds you're planting. That feeling that, I own my own business. That feeling of wanting to succeed, of being focused, of understanding the importance of learning, people interaction, a better work ethics, being optimistic about life and not thinking that if you don't pursue this one option, then there's nothing else available for you. We got to eliminate that mentality from our children. And on a personal level, I'm telling you, as a man who has lived many years in this world, there are things that I wish now that I look back upon that I would have been exposed to, or things I wish somebody would have invested in me that would have gave me a head start in this world, to make me think outside of the street, to make me think outside of the moment or the time, but to make me start thinking about, I'm better, I can do more. Oh, I can own my own business. The different avenues of owning a business. Expose your child to the things that can make a difference in this world. And you can do it. Expose your child to opportunities. If you want your child to stop running the streets, if you want your child to stop hanging around bad crowds, plant a seed in them that shows a future. And when they start to see that the way they're growing, the people around them are not growing at the same level, it happens just like it happened with adults. They're going to pull away because they're going to realize it's something bigger that they want in life. Self-confidence will keep them from being destroyed when other people tell them that that's a stupid idea. Hey, thank you for listening to the Simply Straight Talk Show. This is your host, Reggie Maddox, and I hope you guys tune in every Friday. As you know, I try to bring you the best motivational, educational, inspirational conversations that's going to get you going in life, wake you up to life, keep you motivated and pursuing all you can be, including our younger generation. And don't forget, subscribe to the show so you can win those tickets to see that HBCU football game. We got some great games going on this week, man, because coming up, y'all know, Prairie View, FAMU, BCU, okay, Norfolk State, Delaware. Check them out. Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Clark Atlanta, Tuskegee, Morehouse. All right, y'all holler at your boy, man, so I can send you to some of these games, all right? Let's support our HBCUs. Peace. I'm out.
That's this week's episode. Thank you for listening and being a part of the Simply Straight Talk podcast. We truly appreciate your support. Be sure to visit us at simplystraighttalk.com to join the conversation, access show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content on Patreon. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join us next week for another episode.